Hi everyone, I'm Sean with Task Force Swift, and today we are going to be reviewing the Ares Knights Armament M110. Now, I can sum up my first impressions of this gun in one word: wow. The gun looks great, it feels great. There's a bunch of little nice touches all over this gun. It has necessary trademarks on it, and it just looks and feels like it's worth $500, which is a good thing because that's what the gun's worth. The gun is full metal construction inside and out. The full metal external points would include the receiver, the scope mount, the rails, the one-piece barrel, and the flip-up style sights. Internally, this gun is using a MOSFET trigger system, which I am a fan of, and it's also using Ares' very own version 2 style gearbox. Though this isn't your normal version 2 style gearbox, it does have its hop-up mounted towards the end of the gearbox. So basically, what this means to you is that some of the stuff on this gun is proprietary, such as the magazine. If you look on this, the feeding position on this magazine is more towards the center as opposed to being right towards the front like you would see on most standard AEG magazines. So while some websites may tell you that the G&G, GMP, Classic Army, and all the other type of SR25 style magazines will fit this, all that means is it'll click in. They will not feed in this weapon because the feeding position is in the wrong spot. But that's the only real negative thing I can say from the fact that it has this weird proprietary setup. The gun does come with almost everything that you see here. It comes with one standard mid-cap magazine. It comes with 2 rail covers. It comes with a rail quick detach sling point and a rail quick detach sling point for your stock. And it does come with the scope mount. Now, if you wanted to use this scope mount, which I would recommend, you are going to want a scope with a 30mm tube diameter. Otherwise, it's going to be too big or too small. The battery compartment on this weapon is located in the stock. To access it, all you do is unscrew this knob and pull the butt plate out. When you pull the butt plate out, you'll notice a small type connector waiting for you. Personally, I'm running a nunchuck style 9.6 volt in this weapon, and it does just fine. The hop-up unit on this weapon is located by the breech. Just pull the charging handle back, and you'll see the hop-up unit ready for your adjustment. To close it, just hit the release, and it goes forward. There are 2 releases on this, so it is ambidextrous. Not that it's really that big of a deal since it doesn't have a real functioning point to it, but it's still a nice little touch that they did that. The hop-up unit on this gun is fairly strong. It's not the best I've seen, but it's certainly not the worst that I've seen on a stock AEG. My experience with it is it's good up to around that 150, 160 foot marker, and after that it really starts to show some inconsistency. But nothing that a little upgrade couldn't fix, and this gun could also benefit from a type board barrel in my opinion. But even in its stock form, you can use this as a DMR. You could use it very effectively because I've been using it in its stock form for a year now. The Ares M110 is rated at various different FPSs, to be honest. Depending on where you look, this gun ranges from 350 all the way up to 440 feet per second. So it really depends on which model you're looking at and what website you're looking at. I'm going to tell you right now from our chrono session, this gun is doing over 400 feet per second on average. So this is a weapon that when you take it onto the field, you are going to have an engagement distance. This gun will most likely not exist within 15 feet. The rate of fire isn't really enough to be said or advertised on this weapon, which is okay because this is a DMR. You're not buying this weapon because it's a rate of fire demon. You're buying it because it is an accurate weapon that shoots hard and has a long engagement distance. So how does all this translate onto the field? Well, it translates pretty well, to be honest. This gun isn't particularly light. It's not particularly nose heavy. It's a fairly balanced weapon in my opinion compared to some other weapons on the market. It has a very crisp semi-automatic function, and the MOSFET trigger really does shine when you're on the field. You can honestly pop semi-automatic on this weapon and make people think that you're using full auto if you want to. The gun is fairly accurate. You can engage targets with accuracy, well beyond 140 and 150 feet. I can't really say anything bad about its field performance. I don't think it's quite the best DMR platform out there, but it is a very solid one, and for $500, it doesn't disappoint. So now that we've gone over the good with this gun, let's talk about the bad. In about a year of owning this weapon, I've noticed some really quirky issues that a $500 weapon should not have. Probably the most annoying thing with this weapon is the magazine situation. It's not that I'm salty about, Ares only offering one provider for their magazines, but it's the fact that out of their mid and high cap choices, only one is worth your money, and that's the mid caps. The mid caps have been solid. The high caps, on the other hand, are arguably the worst magazines that I've ever seen in the airsoft market, and I've been doing this for a while now. What makes the high caps so bad is they don't work on full auto. The flap pops open on their own, so when you're running through the field, you can just instantly spew 100 BBs. And in one day of use, 6 of them failed me, so they're complete and utter garbage. The next thing that I noticed with this gun is the battery compartment. When you pull the butt plate out, it's annoying that you have a total of 3 pieces to reassemble just in order to access the battery compartment. It's not a big issue, but it is kind of annoying. The next thing I noticed, and this is going back to the high caps, they don't work on full auto. I can't figure out why, but full auto works on mid caps, it doesn't work on the high caps. I really can't think of a good reason why. And finally, the last thing that I noticed with this gun is while it's very serviceable in its stock state, it could benefit at longer distances with an upgraded barrel and hop-up unit for that matter. But outside of that, this has been a very solid gun, and even for a $500 weapon, these issues aren't too bad. So now that we've talked over the good and bad with this weapon, let's see how it performs on the field. So here we have the 80-foot target for the Ares M110. As you can tell, the grouping's fairly tight. There's a decent amount of penetration marks, so at 80 feet, you're really not going to have too much of a hard time hitting your target. Here's the 140-foot target for the Ares M110. As you can tell, the grouping for its shots opened up quite a bit, but there's still a good amount of penetration marks. There's still a decent amount of accuracy on this target, so at 140 feet, here again, you won't be having too much of an issue hitting your targets. At 180 feet, the Ares M110 really starts to drop off. A lot of the rounds I put on target did not make it. To me, I'm looking at this target, it looks like the gun could use a slightly more powerful hop-up unit or a bucking upgrade along with a tight bore barrel. But even in its stock form, I'm looking at this and there still are some penetration marks to be had on this 180-foot target, and it's also proof that you can still engage targets at 180 feet with the Ares M110. Alright, so to wrap things up, I'm going to give the Ares M110 a 81 out of 100 on my scale, which puts it towards the bottom end of my great category. And yes, while it is annoying that a $500 weapon has some of the issues that this gun does have, like one of the 2 only magazine offerings for this weapon is complete and utter garbage, or that the battery compartment could have been a little bit better design, or that the barrel could have been a little bit better, it doesn't stop this from being a great weapon. On the field, this gun achieves what it is. It's a DMR. You can still engage people in semi-automatic with accuracy at decent distances, and I would recommend this to anyone that is looking at a DMR platform and has the money to spend on this. Yes, you could get something cheaper, like an A&K SR25 or something like that, and just modify it, but it would never have these externals. How this gun feels and how it is built is just on a different level. So if you have the money and you're looking for a DMR, this is something that should be on your list and that I would recommend to you. In the description box below, I'll go ahead and post up some links to some combat footage of this weapon so you can see it in action. And as always, if you guys have any constructive criticism or have any ways for us to better our videos for you, please let us know and post it in the comment section below. I will also post up our Instagram and public Facebook page information in the description as well. I'm Sean with Task Force Swift, and tune in a couple weeks for our next review.